Welcome into another edition of the Stripe Show podcast. It is another Froggy Wednesday. And, we've always got great guests. Thank you to Encore Golf. The podcast is brought to you by them. And remember, Encore Golf designs the high-performance golf balls for players of all skill levels and swing speeds. You get fitted for your perfect golf ball today at encoregolf.com. So it's always wonderful to have somebody who has played the week before. Tell us a little bit about the golf tournament, exactly how the course played the way it did. Had a very solid finish this week. Thank you so much to Adam Hadwin, a 2017 Valspar Championship winner. And you can always follow him on social media, Hadwin Golf. Adam, thank you so much for your time, man. Appreciate you coming on the Stripe Show podcast.
Of course. Welcome. I appreciate you having me on.
A solid finish at the Shriners over the weekend.
Yeah, I played well. You always wish to be a couple shots lower here and there. I think I don't think there was a chance that I was going to be winning it on Sunday. Sanjay kind of ran away with things and made sure he kind of grabbed the reins and took them. But, we always feel as golfers that we left maybe a couple out there during the days. And I had my chances on that back nine to get a couple more, but it is what it is. But again, really solid week. All week, I didn't make too many mistakes. Top 10 finish, which is always nice on tour.
Was that golf course playing as easy as Sanjay made it look, or was he was just not? It looked like he rolled everything in and he was knocking a lot close to the hole.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's a machine. When he gets it going, as you saw on Sunday, he doesn't he's chasing how many flag sticks he can hit, not necessarily how many times he can hit it inside 10 or 15 feet. So, I've had firsthand experience watching this guy play. Partnered with him at President's Cup in 2019. So it's impressive to watch, and at a young age doing that, it's awesome to see. So hats off to him for winning the tournament. But the golf course, we just didn't have a lot of wind in the afternoon, and the golf course stayed fairly receptive. Normally that place can get really firm and fast.
Right. Vegas,
dry, warm. And it just never got the fire like I've seen in previous tournaments. Even on Sunday, I drove the 15th, the par or the reachable par 4. And I mean, I flew it into the middle of the green and stopped it within 20, 25 feet, which I think normally that ball ends up over the back of the green. So that definitely led to some lower scores, but Sanjay beat the average by 6, I think, that day. So he was a class above the rest of us that day for sure.
Is it encouraging to you when you get out there and the golf course is playing that way when you know there's low scores, or is it the other way around? You'd rather play where it's a little harder and it's not going to be a birdie fest?
Yeah, I mean, I think personally for me, I'd rather play the other way, knowing that, par's a good score, hitting the middle of the green, 15, give yourself a lot of 15, 20 footers. You don't have to be as aggressive. I think that may suit my game a little bit more, even though, I mean, I could make birdies with with the best of them, and they can come in bunches. Just traditionally, I'm a little bit more of a conservative player than a lot of guys out here. So keep the ball in play, try and hit as many greens as possible. Again, and give myself 15, 25 feet, 30 feet, safe side of the hole. Try and make golf as stress-free as possible. And, sometimes when scores are getting to that 62, 63, if you're playing too I get caught in this trap of playing too conservatively sometimes.
Right.
I'm not taking on enough pins, when I should be, like the others, and maybe not giving myself enough close chances for birdie.
Adam, how much is the game changing towards distance being such a key factor in whether who wins or who contends?
I mean, it's massive now. I think with the invention of that strokes gained statistic, guys have really opened their minds to this is a big deal. Obviously you go back 20 years now, 25 years when Tiger first came out. And he was smashing it by most people. There was a couple guys, John Daly and stuff, but Tiger was kind of smashing it by most people. And that was really sort of the start, I think, of this increase in distance. Guys are like, well, if I want to compete with him, I'm going to have to get longer and stronger and fitter. And now sort of in my generation and guys coming up, I mean, everybody's strong, everybody's powerful, everybody's got 180 plus ball speed. And it is important. You hate to say that. I mean, this is where the game's gone. And Bryson took it to a new level, and he proved that that model can still be successful. Obviously, I'm not sure any one of us in our wildest dreams believed that Bryson could be this good still. We would have thought that something would have to sacrifice, but it hasn't. He still hits his irons and his wedges as good as anybody. I mean, he's an extremely underrated putter, I think. So guys are, it's become a big thing. You see a lot more guys, doing speed drills and speed training out on the range and in the gym, and especially guys of like my length.
You're not a short hitter by any means. I mean, you're off the tee. You've got your average is over. It's saying it's 300 or 301, which I remember when 300 was this. That was like if you could hit at 300, you're good. Now 300 is not looked at as being a long hitter.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's only been 3 weeks into the season, so those stats are probably slightly misleading. Just because when we played in Napa, Vegas is firm, Napa is firm. Sanderson, the ball was rolling out as well. So to give some clarity to that, I am I top out right around 170 ball speed, which gets me, depending on where we're playing, obviously court, conditions and stuff change, but I'm anywhere from like 280 maybe on the West Coast, like a smash drive out at Torrey Pines or Pebble Beach might go 280 in the air. And if here in Phoenix, a smash drive might go like 295 to 300 in the air. So obviously all that can vary. Now, I am basically on average, maybe just below average on tour now. I would say most of the guys that I play with now are somewhere around 175 ball speed. And then you're talking guys that are going higher than that. Bryson obviously is up close to 200 when he plays. So he's got 30 miles an hour ball speed on me, driver to driver. So, and he hits it straight for the most part, which is
right.
Severely impressive. Like,
right.
I mean, I can't tell for your viewers, man, I can't tell you how impressive that is. If he's off by millimeters on that club face or delivering that club face, I mean, his ball is 30. Whereas if I'm off by that same margin, I'm probably on the right side of the fairway. So that's the that's the difference. So for him to be able to control it is impressive, and it's fun to watch sometimes.
It really is. You dropped out a second there. You said, so if he's millimeters off, he could be 30 yards offline.
30 to 50 yards offline. Easy.
Wow.
You play the game. The margin for error when you're delivering that club head, especially that fast, is so small. And if that club face comes in a degree or two open or closed, with that extra 30 mile an hour ball speed, that's, like I said, I'm right side of the fairway. He is 30 yards out of bounds with that difference. So it's impressive.
It is. I watched Bryson also. He took part in that long drive championship.
Yeah.
And really held his own. I think he was just very close to getting into the semifinals. And we had Justin James on, who made it to the finals against Cal Berkshire. And Justin said, it really, truly is unbelievable. He's like, we, as long drivers, we basically need to put one ball in play out of 8 tries. He said, this guy has to put every ball he hits off a tee in a PGA Tour event in play. And he's still hitting it at this distance. It really, truly is remarkable. Have the distances or the changes Bryson's made, have they affected you at all and made you want to try to gain some distance?
I'd be lying if I said no. Obviously, I think every one of us sees the importance of the distance and how much it can affect things, how easier the game can become. It doesn't mean you're going to score better by any means, but having 8 instead of 7 and wedge instead of 9, I mean, it just adds up over the course of a year. I've looked at it it's not something, I'll be honest, that I've seriously chased yet. I don't think that I have fully committed to that process. I've talked with my trainer and my swing coach about that stuff at length, and it's all things that we want to look at. But I don't want to start sacrificing other parts of my game yet. And so it's been like an ongoing discussion for 2 or 3 years now. So we'll see. Like at some point, I'm just gonna have to sit down and either commit or not commit, which I think is what it comes down to. So we'll see what happens.
Well, Rory had said that he was guilty of absolutely chasing it and that it had affected other parts of his game. And so I admire Rory for being honest and admitting that's what has happened.
100%. And it will. Just this is a very, very small example, but I was with my swing coach and we were talking about gaining some speed and how to do it. And, he was basically showing me that, my body has the potential without even changing much to put some more speed on. And we were playing around with some things. And for about a week or so, I was kind of fooling around with that. And I was able to go from, I was at his home base in Alabama with the force plates, kind of measuring the force that my feet were putting into the ground. And I came back to Phoenix and I was playing around with it. And I was able to go just kind of from cruising right around 170. If I was trying the things that we were talking about, I was able to get it up to about 178. So I gained 7-8 miles an hour ball speed just by doing a couple of these things, which is massive. But I had no idea where it was going. And there was no possible way that I'd be able to put this into play in a tournament and have any level of, being comfortable about it. But then I found, after doing that during my off week, even though I wasn't necessarily doing it at a tournament, I found some of those habits like almost creeping in because I had been practicing it. And so I started driving it like crap. And so I had to like really kind of forget everything and not touch it. That's where, Bryson kind of disappeared for, call it two and a half months on us.
Right when the pandemic started, really.
Yeah, at the end of, I think, 2019, before the President's Cup. President's Cup in Australia in December of 19 is when he first debuted his bulked up body. He played in Vegas, and then he disappeared for like two and a half months, and that's when he went into that phase. So it's just, I mean, if you're going to take it on, you got to take it on. You got to fully commit. You've got to be ready for it, and you have to go full force, and he did, and he owned it. I'm sure Rory did as well, and he took it on. However, I think there's just two different golf swings. I think if you look at Bryson's, his is more of sort of a, I don't know, like a one plane-ish almost, his everything about it is nothing moves but his body type thing. And I think that if you look at Rory's swing, it's a much more fluid, rotary type golf swing, and his hips and everything are, it's built maybe a little bit more on timing than Bryson's is, or maybe easier. Bryson's is easier to time than Rory's is because there's less moving parts to it. I mean,
Rory seems to have a lot more face rotation or arms rolling, so to speak, at the ball than Bryson does.
Correct. You look at Bryson and how, he gets across the line at the top, but his arms basically stay very straight. His grip is very neutral. Like everything's built so that face doesn't rotate. And, the way that he hits draws, and he just uses his body, comes from the inside massively to hit these high draws with the driver. Whereas again, Rory's just a little bit more rotational. And I think him trying to add that speed probably just messed his timing up big time, which is what it does for me. I would say typically, if I was to compare against the two, I would be much closer to Rory, which most golfers are on tour anyways. But that timing aspect, when you start throwing some more speed, if it's off just a little bit when we're talking at those speeds, the margin for error is so small that, you start missing it instead of missing it 5-10 yards left and right, now you're missing it 15-20 yards left and right, which brings in a whole host of other problems.
Adam, do you ever find yourself when you're playing on the golf course, maybe things aren't going great, or you're playing with somebody who's playing really well? Do you ever find yourself, and I ask this because as an amateur we do this, or at least I'm guilty of it, and I know my buddies are. Do you ever find yourself looking at something that player's doing and think, hey, maybe if I tried that, I'd hit it better? Or do you ever find yourself doing that?
Yeah, that's a good question. No, I don't think I've ever felt that way, but certainly like when I've been on the range or watching somebody practice or on the putting green or anything like that, or I might pick up something and be like, oh, I like that drill, or I know so-and-so has been doing really well with this aspect of their game. Let me see if they do anything differently or practice differently than I do. Maybe I can pick something up. It's a lot easier to kind of see that, maybe on the chipping greens or the short game area or putting green or something like that. That's kind of where I would notice some of that a little bit more. On the golf course, no, I've never really, I don't think I've really even ever noticed that. Certainly recognize when guys are playing well, but I think all of us at some point have been in that situation, and then also been in the other situation where we're kind of putting a thumping on our playing partners. And so you just get caught up in your own world.
Right. Speaking of putting a thumping on your playing partner, that day in 2017 at the Career Builder, when you shot 59, who were you playing with that day?
I was playing with Colt Nost, believe it or not.
And what did he shoot?
I have no idea.
Exactly. But I guarantee you were kicking his ass though.
we had a great day. Colt was honestly probably the best partner to have on a day like that. It was it was a pro-am format, so we had a couple AMs with us as well.
Oh wow.
So it was very relaxed. It might have been an easier atmosphere to do it in than like a regular tour event with two other professionals. Just because I was able to sort of escape my own game a little bit. And I mean, I knew exactly what I was doing and where I was at and what I needed to do. But at the same time, there's still a part of me that wanted to make sure the guys I were playing with were having a good time and enjoying themselves and, and all of that thing too. So I was kind of able to escape my own round a little bit and help them out. And that probably helped me get through the round.
I mean, at what point in the round, like I know at one point you had 6 birdies in a row, you shot 29 on the front, then you go in the back, you make another 5 in a row. At what point do you realize that this is really something special? Like I know I'm in a pro-am, I know I've got a job to do, but at the same time, this is different.
I started joking with my caddy I birdied 12 to go 9 under through 12. And I kind of started joking with him, like, kind of ribbing him a little bit, like, oh, we only got 4 more to go, and haha. And he just looks at me and kind of like deadpan goes, well, let's just worry about the next shot, bud. And, kind of like what any good caddy would do. And it started to get silly for me 2 holes later on 14. I birdied the par 5. It was reachable. And like, I made a nice putt for it. I didn't hit a great second shot into it and got up and down. But it got kind of silly the next hole on 14. I made like a 30-footer, just putts that you shouldn't make. Putts that you're only making, 2 to 3%, maybe 5% of the time on a yearly basis. And that's when it's like, okay, this is kind of strange now. Like putts just don't keep falling from that distance. And so I was 11 under through 14. I distinctly remember the putt still on 15. It was a downhill left to right putt. And I just kept telling myself, just get the speed right. Because this would be a putt forget being 11 under through 14, even being 7 or 8 under through 14. This would be a type of putt where things are going well. I might get a little too aggressive on it, trying to make it, run it by 3 or 4 feet and then miss the comebacker, and all momentum's gone from any sort of good round. So I just kept telling myself to get the speed right. If it doesn't go in, it doesn't go in. Just tap in. You still have all of this momentum built up, and it went in. And so I only needed one of the last 3 to get to 13 under, And I hit a good shot in a 16, missed that putt. Finally, it's about the first one I missed all week.
How
Or
short was that putt?
all day. About 15 feet. Probably one of the
wow.
closer ones in like the last 4 or
Right.
5 holes that I had made though. And then I hit a really good second shot into 17 to about 7 feet. Made that for birdie to get the 13 under, and was able to par the last.
How hard was that par on the last hole?
I had to work for it a little bit. Yeah, probably too hard. I had a good tee shot. I played very, very safe on the second, probably a little bit jacked up under the situation. Went a little long. Hit a good chip shot down there to 3 feet, and thankfully I had a lot of room, as much room for error on a 3-footer as you can have. It was basically straight up the hill from 3 feet, so it went in.
It's obviously a round for you to be able to talk about it so in depth. It's obviously a round you'll never forget.
Yeah, I can recall pretty close the entire back nine, at least the last probably 6 holes. 13 on, I can pretty much give you every shot that went on. So
2017 was a great year. You shoot 59, you won the Valspar, you played in the President's Cup. I mean, it really was 2017 to this point, probably your best year on tour.
By far. Yeah. Yeah, definitely by far. Which from a competitor standpoint kind of stings a little bit because you want to keep getting better and keep moving up. And, I have this saying, like, I don't ever want to be the guy that is known for winning once or for shooting 59 or, playing one President's Cup. So thankfully I've had my second President's Cup experience now. I'm still chasing that second win. But yeah, it's, this game really goes through ebbs and flows. You see it all the time. You see it with the best players. It's really difficult to stay at peak level for an extended period of time. And hopefully 2017 wasn't my peak. I'm working to make that a reality. But yeah, it's been, I'd say 17 was definitely the peak, and it's been a little bit of maybe an ebb from there, but hopefully we're back on the flow now going upwards.
I mean, there's so much talent in the game now, and that people argue, the talent back in the day versus now, but I just feel like right now there are so many people that can win at any given time. The talent is so deep where I could make an argument that 15, 20 years ago, I could have probably named 5 or 10 guys that were going to win most of the golf tournaments. And this is, I'm even going back further than Tiger. Obviously, when Tiger was playing, it seemed like a lot of times people were playing for second place. There is so much talent now that it feels like anybody can win on any given week.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I'm not gonna sit here and try and compare generations or anything like that. I wasn't alive or playing back then, but yeah, I mean, I think you look back to the impact that Tiger had on the game, his work ethic. And when he came out, he was just so far and above, like, no disrespect to Mickelson or Els or these guys that were, second and third best while he was playing. But, he was just another level. And stats in his career would say that. And
for sure.
In today's day and age, it's just definitely harder to separate yourself like that.
I don't think we'll see another run like that for a long time.
If you do, it's going to be extremely, extremely special. I just think that guys are just more prepared than they used to be. You look at the average age of the PGA Tour probably 15, 20 years ago, it was probably 27, 28. They really said guys didn't really start hitting their prime till their 30s. They had all this experience under their belt and they knew what they were doing. I mean, you got guys coming out of college at 21, 22 winning PGA Tour events like it's nothing nowadays. And I think a lot of that is just, guys have dedicated themselves from young ages. I mean, 12, 13 years old now, doing nothing but golf and training specifically for golf and practicing and all of this stuff. When I was 12, 13, I was still playing every high school sport and I was still doing all these different things. So it's just a different world. You have things like TrackMan and Foresight and simulators and the fitting and all of this. Everything is is perfect. I mean, technology has advanced so far that you can get anything you want whenever you want, fit precisely to what you need it to. And, fitness, nutrition, mental, I mean, everything, all encompassing. So when they, by the time they reach the PGA Tour, even if it's out of college, if it's a year on the Korn Ferry Tour, if it's, 7 years on the Korn Ferry Tour, these guys are like, it's no big deal. I mean, I've been through it. I'm ready to play.
Yeah, the Korn Ferry Tour is deep with talent as well.
Oh, it's incredible. Just to get through that and to get PGA Tour card is an accomplishment in its own right, regardless of how the PGA Tour season goes. It's not something easy to do. I mean, I played a few years on the mini tours. I played up in Canada. I played Korn Ferry Tour. I mean, I went through the entire progression.
Right.
And so there's talent at every level. And you have to play well to move up and to move on. And you're right. I mean, it's every single week, Shriners is a prime example. I mean, I had a good week, but there was probably, I'm not going to be able to go through there and find 6 or 7 shots probably to be able to catch Sungjae to win,
right.
like I might be, sure. Everybody could probably go find a shot or two to move up the leaderboard a few places. But I guess you take him out of it, and it was really close. I could probably find a couple shots to contend, but
right.
Every week it seems like there's a guy or a couple guys that are playing like that. Sam Burns ran away with it. I mean, it was only 2 or 3 shots ahead, but he basically asserted himself in Jackson, and he took the championship. So,
right.
It's a lot of fun though. I can tell you that. I mean, the competition is so good, and it pushes you because you just can't make a mistake anymore.
No, absolutely not. No. And, you mentioned Tiger and yesterday there was a story that came out in Sports Illustrated. The tours come out with the Player Impact Program and awarding people who are moving the needle the most. Tiger Woods is not going to hit a shot this year. And luckily, there was a video posted of him the other day. It showed him at Charlie's event. He was walking. It's so strange that Tiger Woods walking without a limp is a story, and it's truly amazing. I would love to see him play again. I'm sure you would love to see him come back out there and play again. But Tiger really does. He is the needle. He doesn't move the needle. He is the needle in golf. And you've been on tour, seen, played, done whatever. What's your favorite Tiger story from your career that really just is something that people just don't understand about how great Tiger is?
I go back to, and I don't, it's hard. I almost think that he's underappreciated for what he's accomplished.
I would agree.
Almost like you don't want to say like Colin the greatest, greatest golfer of my generation, underappreciated, but
right.
One of my favorite stats about Tiger is about 4 or 5 years ago now, when Jason Day was #1 in the world, and he looked unbeatable and all of that stuff. Jason won 7 events in 17 starts, which is ridiculous, really. I mean, you just wrap your head around that. Like a win percentage in 17 starts of was that 40% or something?
Right.
Ridiculous. Tiger did that 7 separate times in his career. Separate, like 7 separate times in his career. So you're looking at a period of time where everybody's talking about Jason Day and how good he is and how unbeatable he is. And Tiger did that 7 different times. And you think about all the swing changes that Tiger did. Every time he like got great, he changed his swing.
Right. The injuries that he's been through.
Injuries and all of this stuff. And like 7 separate times. And I'm like, this, I mean, you look at his, #1 world ranking and how far he is ahead of the second person in the span of weeks and stuff like that. I mean, it's in, obviously some of this stuff, again, we don't have this to compare maybe to Nicklaus or anything, at least from a world golf ranking or stuff like that. Or how about Tiger's cut streak of 142 weeks or something, cuts made?
That's insane.
It is like John Rahm is inarguably the greatest player in the world right now.
Right.
And he is the hottest player on the planet. And I don't think anybody would argue against that.
No.
at least from like a PGA Tour standpoint. Maybe some guys in the mini tours are cleaning house, but he still missed the cut at the Fortinet Championship first start of the week or first start of the year.
Right.
So, I mean, you got guys maybe that are making like 30, maybe 40, and it's like considered a massive streak.
Right.
You know, you go a year without missing a cut and you've done really, really well. Tiger went like 5 years or 7 years or for 140 events. He didn't play that much. So you're looking at like 7 years, 8 years without missing a cut. It's just ridiculous.
It is. It's insane. Do you remember the first time you ever played with him?
I do. Yes. I've only played with him once.
Oh, once. Were you caught
Just
up
once.
in it? Was it like, I can't believe I'm playing with Tiger Woods?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. We played Saturday's round at Riviera. I think it would have been Genesis. Wow. So he was, I think it might have, maybe he was hosting that, maybe one of the first years he started hosting that event.
Mm-hmm.
And I was playing with him and Jordan Spieth on Saturday.
Oh, that's a hell of a pairing.
Yeah, so it was pretty cool. And yeah, I think especially the first time, you always remember the first time.
Right.
And you always are thinking about it and what it's going to be like. And he didn't play very well on Saturday at Riviera that day.
Did you beat him?
I did beat him. I beat both of them actually. Yeah.
Wow, awesome.
But I'll be honest with you.
He didn't play his best, so it was a little bit easier to beat. That's for sure.
But you still beat him. But he could still say, I played with Tiger Woods one time and I beat him.
Yeah. I am 1 for 1 in my career beating Tiger Woods.
That's awesome. You know, I know this is a really stupid take, what I'm about to say, but it just feels like something's not right. I'm not sure, as you were playing this weekend, you obviously did not get to watch the PGA Tour Champions event. Was here in Jacksonville, Jim Furyk's event, Furyk and Friends Constellation, presented by Circle K, and it really was a good tournament, an amazing field. They had every single player you could possibly imagine on PGA Tour Champions. And Phil just shows up and wins. My take is Phil's too good for the Champions Tour. I don't think they should let him play on it yet.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I don't think that the Champions Tour is going to turn down the free revenue that Phil Mickelson he'll bring to your event, but you're probably not far off. I mean, the guy won the PGA Championship this year against, what is arguably some of the best fields of the year. So
that was a hard golf course too.
Yeah. He obviously still has a ton of game. And I think probably what Champions Tour allows is that he's playing from not as far back as he would on the PGA Tour.
He said it allows him to be more aggressive. And if he makes a mistake, it's easier to recover from there than it is on the tour.
Yeah. We were just talking about that competition, right? I mean, for a guy like him, he's probably hitting it 20, 30 yards by most of the guys that he's playing with.
Because Phil, he's hitting bombs.
Exactly. I mean, Phil bombs it by a bunch of the guys out here on tour. I mean, on the PGA Tour. I mean, it's he is in the upper echelon of distance on the PGA Tour, let alone the Champions Tour. I mean,
yeah, if you remember at the PGA, he bombed it past Brooks, hit a really good drive on that one hole, and he knocked it past him like no problems.
100%. So, I mean, it's just a recipe for him to be ultra successful, right? I mean, he sort of redefined himself, I think, a few years ago too. He got into this big coffee fasting and lost a bunch of weight, got really strong, started hitting bombs, like he says. And, whether or not that has extended a PGA Tour shelf life or anything, I think remains to be seen. I mean, he didn't play that well outside of the PGA, but he's still calling himself a PGA champion. Or a champion. He still won a major at 50 years old or 49, whatever he was when he won.
I love that he's been so vocal about that too. Somebody posted something about, who had the worst year, whatever, on tour. And Phil responded back, yeah, but who won the PGA Championship? This guy.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I love that he fires back.
But yeah, I mean, it's just a recipe for him to take advantage of Champions Tour golf courses. And you're probably not wrong that he's too good, but I mean, at this point, I don't think I mean, he didn't win one of them that he played. He's only won 3 of the 4 that he's played.
3 or
so,
4, yeah.
I mean, I guess he is beatable, but
he wasn't even really prepared this week. I mean, how much could he really have practiced? He was an assistant captain at the Ryder Cup, so he was there doing his stuff there. So was Jim. I think Jim finished tied for 3rd or 4th. Yep. So they both. I feel like the guys that first come off the tour, and especially the really successful ones, they're obviously going to be favorites in the beginning because they're used to playing the big boy ballparks. And so I think it gives them a little bit of an advantage early on.
100%. I would agree with that 100%. You look at guys that have were splitting time for years. VJ was going back and forth, and Davis Love, Davis won out here at Greensboro at 48 or 49 as well, just before he went there. So yeah, massive advantage especially for a guy like Phil, because he bombs it. Mike Weir, fellow Canadian, he's had a bunch of success out there on the Champions Tour. He would have had a harder time competing out on tour because he doesn't hit it very far anymore. And whereas Phil will win as many times as Phil wants to win, basically.
That's what I love about golf, man. That's why it's good stuff. Who do you like in the Brooks-Bryson match? This Brooks-Bryson talk has been going on. First, it was a fight. Now they're buddies at Ryder Cup, and then now they're going to made-for-TV match. I'm not even sure where I stand in all this anymore. I feel like I've been taken for a ride.
You got to get that PIP money, Froggy. That's what, you were mentioning that Tiger's still taking the $8 million PIP money, but Brooks and Bryson were putting up a hell of a fight for it. That's for sure.
Yeah, they did. Who do you like in the TV match?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't care.
Right.
I'm not gonna watch. The guys are fine, but we're talking about moving the needle and stuff. And obviously, I think to most people out there, they move the needle. But to somebody who's immersed in the game and is around it all the time, those two don't move the needle for me. I would watch a match involving Tiger. That's pretty much where my limits go. Maybe when you throw in some of the other sports personalities, because it's outside of golf for me, maybe I'll watch, but I'll choose Bryson. Simply on the fact that I don't think Brooks even cares to be there.
I agree.
And that I feel like, if anything, Bryson might have a slight edge in caring to beat the other person.
Right.
Whereas I feel like Brooks may be just going for a cash grab. So
right. That makes sense. Speaking of cash grabs, the tour announced this week that now for guys who play so many tournaments, I think it was 15 events or 17, 18 events, they'll give a $50,000 bonus. Do you think that will make a difference? Because let's be honest.
No.
If you're playing on tour and you got some decent finishes, this really sounds stupid, but $50,000 is not a lot of money when you're playing on the PGA Tour.
No.
Number one. Is that going to make anybody play an extra 2 or 3 tournaments? No.
And you have to play 15 events to keep your card anyways, to be eligible for tour status for the following year. So
what's the reason for this then?
I don't know. I'm not privy to some of the behind the scenes conversations. I'm not on the policy board or the PAC board or anything like that. Honestly, if I had to guess, I would just say it's another way for the tour to give some money to their membership, I guess. The guys that it's going to affect the most, obviously, all of the top players, they're going to play 15 events. They usually probably get between 15 and 18 events a year. Because like I said, they have to play 15 minimum to keep their status. The guys that it will help, though, not that 50,000, like you said, in the grand scheme of things, if you play well, is going to be magic. But guys that are coming off the Korn Ferry Tour for their first season on tour, and they're going to see between, let's say, 20 and 25, maybe more, depending on where they're at in the priority ranking. So $50,000 at the end of the year, maybe if you haven't kept your card, that could make, I mean, that could be a
Right.
difference. I mean, you can miss your card and still make almost $1 million on tour, which is mind-boggling. But
Right, it is.
so a guy that struggled that year and didn't keep their card but played in those events, I mean, that 50 grand could mean a lot. Certainly pays the mortgage at least for another year and stuff like that, and still help you to chase your dreams and continue the chase and all that kind of stuff. So, but for a guy that finishes top 125 or top 100 on the FedEx, I mean, again, don't get me wrong, 50,000 is amazing. It's a lot of money, and it can do a lot of good. But
Right.
you're talking to guys that have already made probably $1 million to $1.5 million while
Correct.
playing. So,
Right.
probably, I mean, it's good to see the tour at least putting some money into or thinking about the little guy on tour, which doesn't happen very often. They do a really good job of taking care of their top players, which, understandably so. They bring the television contracts and they bring the ratings, and they bring it all filters down to the purses that we play for, and we get to play for more money and more money into retirement and FedEx bonuses and all that kind of stuff. So I understand it from that point of view. This whole this PIP fund, right? That's a way of them keeping their talent on the PGA Tour and not being lured away with big money, guaranteed big money to go somewhere else.
Right.
I get it. I understand it.
Yeah, I mean, I just saw a story yesterday where it looks like this year the Players Championship in March of 2022, the purse is increasing to 20 million.
Amazing.
And the winner will take home over 3 million.
So, I mean, in golf, this is sort of unheard of, right? I mean, we're reaching stuff, but like tennis has been handing out $3 million prize purses at US Open for 4 or 5 years now.
Wow.
So, in comparison, I mean, you look at some of the contracts in baseball and basketball, and guys making $40 million a year in football. I mean, while this seems, I mean, it is wild. Right. I mean, it's wild to think that we could be paid this much for doing something that we love, but it's probably, we're still barely on par with, I think, some of the best, when you talk athlete to athlete, best to best, we're sort of just getting into that discussion where salaries and stuff would be comparable, but, everything is top down driven. I mean,
right.
it is with every sport. So, extra 50 to help some of the smaller guys out. It's a nice touch by the tour. At least they're thinking about us.
Right. Yes. Absolutely not a bad idea by any means.
No.
Real quick, I know that you did a golf tournament for your family foundation, and as the day that we're recording this, actually, a year ago today, I had a brain aneurysm and had brain surgery and was lucky enough to recover. And I understand what it's like to try and put a golf tournament on. It is not easy to try and get people to play golf and get sponsors and whatnot. And I know you just did that. So I want to congratulate you and give you some props, because I know that it's difficult to do that, but yet at the same time doing it for a worthy cause.
Yeah, we had an unreal day. My wife was the savior of the day. She organized everything. She made sure everything ran smoothly from top to bottom. It was a really good day. We had a really great group of guys that came out and played. We got a lot of support from the community, and we're looking forward to doing more of it in the coming years.
That's awesome. It's good to see. It's good to see people who can help other people who aren't able to help themselves. And that's really what it's all about, is that helping people who can't when you are able to help. That's why I want to take the opportunity to try and raise money for a golf tournament, because I was lucky enough that I was able to get care, and I was lucky enough to recover. And I'm probably 80 to 90% back to where I was a year ago. Most people don't. 80% of people who have brain aneurysms don't make it. Yeah. And of the 20% that do, 80% of those have long lasting effects, and they never live a normal life again. And so I'm extremely lucky and want to do what I can to try to give back and try and help future people who are suffering from aneurysms, because they are so, unfortunately, they are so common and are so prevalent in society now.
Good for you. Like you said, it's people taking that the platform or opportunity they have to give back and do better.
Yeah, for sure. Where can we see you play again? When's the next time we'll see you?
I'm off for a couple weeks. I'll be in Bermuda. What do they change it? Bermuda Championship. In a couple weeks. That starts the week of the 25th, and then I'll be in Mexico for the Worldwide Technology Mayakoba Classic the week after that.
Are you playing RSM?
It's up in the air right now. My brother's getting married the week before, so I won't touch a club for a few days, so I'm undecided still.
That might not be the worst decision ever. Nothing's worse than playing bad golf.
Well, and just RSM's a long way from home, and having, if I'm going to go to an event, I want to go prepared and ready to play and feeling like I can win. And if I haven't been able to do that and prep properly, I don't know, I'm sure it's worth the trip, and I could make something out of it, but
right.
It's time away from family. It's all those things. So we'll see.
Right. That makes sense. Well, Adam, I appreciate your time here today on the Stripe Show. But before I let you go, we've got a segment that we call the Emergency 9. Nothing's better than an Emergency 9. You don't, you just want to get 9 more quick holes in.
Yes, sir.
We'll get, 9 rapid fire questions. Some are golf related, some are not.
Okay.
You just say the first thing that comes to your mind when I ask you the questions. Number 1, best golf shot you ever hit in your life.
Oh my God. The 3-footer I made to shoot 59.
I can't argue with that. Top 3 favorite golf courses that you like to play.
Pebble, Augusta, and Royal Portrush.
Royal Portrush. Okay. I was thinking Augusta was going to be on the list. I think it's got to be on everybody's list, right?
Yeah. That could be a Masters thing too, but
It is. What will be your Masters champion dinner? Adam Hadwin wins next season. What are we eating for dinner that night?
I'm gonna have a nice fillet with maybe a Pacific Northwest salmon option, probably some lobster mac and cheese, some Brussels sprouts, and maybe some sort of ice cream for dessert.
Okay, I like it. I'm in. What kind of music are you listening to when you're on the golf course and able to play music?
Basically a top 40 mix. A little bit of everything, and then country when I'm in the car.
Yes, love that.
Yeah.
What's your favorite Netflix show you're watching right now?
I'm actually watching Ted Lasso, Apple TV Plus.
Everybody's watching Ted Lasso. I have not watched an episode. Everybody says I should. It is that good.
You should. It's amazing. Sudeikis does just an incredible job. I've really enjoyed it.
Beer, wine, or cocktail? What's your choice?
Probably beer.
Which one?
Something light. I'm not much of a drinker, so maybe we'll shout out the tour sponsor, Michelob Ultra.
Hobbies that are not golf related. What are you doing when you're taking time off the golf course?
I like to fish. I don't do it seriously though. I've got a pond in our backyard not in our backyard, but in our neighborhood in Kansas, and I do a lot of neighborhood pond fishing and some of the fishing at the golf course. Other than looking after our daughter, that's about it.
Nice. All right, this is a little deep here. 3 words that best describe you as a person.
I don't know. Sarcastic.
I like that.
Quiet.
Okay.
Lazy.
The sarcastic and quiet is hard. People think that guy doesn't like me, but it's not it.
Yeah.
He's quiet and he's sarcastic.
I warm up when you get to know me. I'm quiet and then I warm up, and that's when the sarcastic comes out. And
last but not least, hole 9, 3 words that best describe Adam Hadwin's golf game.
Boring, which is a good thing in golf.
Right.
on edge because mentally I still haven't quite figured it out.
Right.
And putts well. I don't know. I can't narrow it down to 3 specific words, I guess.
Putts well's good. That's a good one. I don't think that would be one of mine. That would definitely not be one of mine. I've tried every putting grip under the sun. Conventional, left hand low, the claw, you name it, I've tried it. So, which means it's not the grip. It's
probably.
the guy.
I hate to say this, but probably not.
It's the guy holding the putter for sure. Good deal. Well, Adam, thank you so much. Appreciate your time here on the Stripe Show podcast, man. We will definitely have you on again next season. But play well and have a great season, man. And good luck to you.
Thank you, Froggy. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.